what are the areas, the issues that you find important. And then we are going to, after a small amount of instruction, break into groups, and you all are going to do a little bit of work. I think this is a much more effective way to use this time. And I think because of where you all are as it relates to inclusion work, lack of infrastructure, lack of existing sophisticated campaigns, that diving deep into this campaign piece is not going to be as helpful as talking about how to build real networks and then figuring out internally how those networks can most effectively work in the work that you all are already doing. Some of you are doing more work than others around inclusion. So I'd like to go around the room. I'd like for you to tell me what area of inclusion is most important to you, and even say why. And it's okay for you to be very specific. So for some of you, it may be issues of religion and the fact that Muslims are not regularly included in broader Greek society. For some of you, it may be women, and it may be specifically women in politics. For some of you, it may be young people, and it may be an inability for the Greek school system to effectively empower young people to even think about inclusion. So I want you to feel comfortable knowing that whatever it is or whatever area it is, you can be as narrow or as broad as you are passionate about. But there are no wrong answers, there are no wrong areas, and there are no wrong focuses. So you start. Unemployment for young people. Okay. Why?
Because, as I said before, it's ugly to work for your survival and not work for your dreams. This is my main ideas.
Thank you.
Patience. I teach patient-centered care. It's good communication usually does not exist because they don't have it in their training. Doctors and nurses don't have it in their training. So they don't know how to properly communicate with the patient who's suffering, who's in pain, who needs information.
Okay.
I think education, because that's where it all starts from. And that's the place where a change will spread to all of society.
I think us and the mentality of the people in Greece, what we were talking about before with women's rights.
Okay.
That's what I think we have to start from.
Yes.
She's a Greek. I wanted to say mentality.
And that's all right. You all both can say mentality. And go a little bit deeper. So in talking about, this is about Greek citizen at large, how you think about inclusion, what it looks like. Is that what you mean? Either one of you.
Yeah, I think in Greece there's so much racism towards different age, color, sexual orientation, everything. Even like small things, even manners. Many Greeks don't have manners. It's a huge problem.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think that basically I would say the country would invest more in the youth, because of course they are the future. I mean, 2 years ago we used to have sports in school. They stopped that. Now, not having sport in school means that you have kids, youth, with lots of time to waste. And most of them waste on the campaigns, being literally doing nothing. So that's one thing that I could say, invest more in the youth, activities, stuff that they could do. I mean,
Thank you.
I would say inclusion as far as the healthcare system is concerned. So equal opportunities to access in hospitals, for example. And as I said earlier in the morning, I would say equal opportunities in schools for children.
I think that we can also raise awareness as far as indifference in general is concerned about developing a real political, social group consensus about things. Like, for example, voting.
And so what would that look like?
I think we should promote some things. We should grow some incentives. We should make people understand that if they don't do anything, then this is going to have a very negative impact on the society. They are members of the society. We are all members of the society. We're not just one person. We're all members of one society, and we should work like the society is a family.
Well, I think if there are any ways to integrate into any society, but at the same time keep your background, you not lose your identity. Because I believe that it is possible to build respectful for society, but at the same time to keep your culture. And just to share your experience with others and be respectful to each other.
Okay, wonderful.
I agree with Nathan here, and with the girl said about the health and care system. That's really important. That's some issues I also face with this. So.
Okay.
Citizenship rights in general, and specifically political rights for immigrants, especially third country nationals in Greece. Topic about the country.
Okay.
I think about responsibility, not necessary to Greece. I meet people and I see they reach an age and they didn't make nothing. Maybe they studied, but nothing else. Responsibility, what I mean, to the community, to the people, to the country. They live like a dream, like this. They're not able to make a degree and it's finished and they are waiting. Maybe the parents are pushing back. I think this is necessary education in school for this, and doesn't exist.
I guess there should be some more attention to the case of the migrants, to give more attention to this case and to define the just to give it an importance to this case, because some migrants are forced to leave their country and they are educated, they're not bad people, and they shouldn't be judged as the race or the color.
Thank you.
Same thing. We should not be careful the age, the gender, everything. We are here, we are living in the same country, and we should work as a team. We should have the motivation and the communication that is in a terrible lack of communication, either internal or external, in order to work for the community, the rights, the education, the health system, and everything. But we should be as a team. Okay.
Yes.
Well-being as expressed by Aristotle, eudaimonia. I think this is something that we overlook with regard to mental health. And I think the problem right now, due to the recession, is that people really aren't well, psychologically.
Okay.
I think that it's life learning. That in Greece they don't make follow-up. It means they finish studies, but they stop there, not continue to that. Or like to vote, because people they don't know why they must vote and for what and why. They are just going to vote for personal reason. And also the constitution. People they don't know what it means constitution. They are just hearing constitution, but who do that, why, and what is the change make to this constitution? Because in Greece we have like 4 times in less than 60 years changes in the constitution. We can see like in Norway that they have 200 years the same constitution, you know. And also dialogue. Nobody believes in dialogue in Greece. They can believe in dialogue just for a few minutes, but after, you know, they are fighting. It means we must do dialogue even with our enemies. We can see a big country in the world, states with Russia, and they can fight for many years, but then after they get dictator of the other. It
Yeah,
means
JT,
we can.
you gotta choose one. Which one? Choose one.
Okay.
No, I'm good, because the things that he said fit into where I already am.
Who's gonna have to choose one?
He's gonna have to choose one later, but this is okay for right now. Laura?
I mean, I'm really focused.
Just one.
I'm very
One.
focused on social cohesion. Like, I'm totally 100%. I am there. Social cohesion, accepting, valuing, benefiting from difference.
Yes. Okay, so I have 5 overarching areas, and if I've gotten any of them wrong, I'd love for you to tell me, Jeff, you're wrong. The first is civics, and it ultimately goes into the mentality of people in the country based on what the Constitution says it means to be Greek, what the laws of that society are, what our democracy really is, and how we begin to be responsible for what we have. As Greeks, we have a constitution. That constitution is democratic. It gives us the rights and abilities to be free. However, that doesn't come without responsibility. And at some point, we have to be clear about what that is and how do we promote, one, an understanding of what our constitution gives us the ability to do, and our responsibility for walking it out. Not waiting on someone else to deliver us the rights of the Constitution and not living the rights of the Constitution. Piece there? Not enough. Break it down for me. Go further.
Can I just say something?
Yes, sir.
From what I understood, it was sort of like a collective consciousness. Maybe we lack a sense of a collective consciousness. Everybody looks out for themselves.
Yes. People are living in this country, and if I have to give an example about, I did this for my country, I don't think about nationalism or being Greek or being, not about Greece. In general, I don't think about Greece right now, because always we put the negative about Greece, we found all negative things about Greece. It's about many other countries. It's the same actually. People, I think, should be educated. Once again, I don't want to confuse with nationalism. You live here, in this neighborhood.
A sense of community.
Leave something in this neighborhood. Leave a tree. I'm in Romania, yeah? We have in Romania a new law. When you get married, you have to plant a tree. You can't get married if you don't plant a tree.
Not a child, but for
Okay. And so ultimately, it's really beyond responsibility. It's about what's my contribution. What am I giving back? And so I have a responsibility to give something back, not just take from.
Because we ask the country to give us every day rights. Now we are in the street protesting, asking for more wages, more rights and things. But what we give to them? Nothing. Sometimes.
I'm going to come back to that. The second I have is very clear and concise, and that is education and youth. What are the school systems doing? What do we believe they should be doing? And then beyond that, what are the services that are provided to young people? How do we ensure that those services are being used for inclusion? Because sports is one of the great equalizers. I know people all over the world that may not like a certain ethnicity, but when we get on the football field, not always, but sometimes, it's a space where you're able to break down some of those issues. We see people who may fight in their communities but act as a team within sports. And so it's not just sports, but what are the other activities that we can use to be able to make inclusion real, not just have a conversation about inclusion. The third is broad, but what spoke to me from what many of you said was wellness and healthcare. And we know that those are different, but they're connected. So how do we talk about wellness, and wellness meaning the health of the entire person, mental health, eating, exercise. I think Andres talked about smoking. How do we create healthy lifestyle? And how do we promote resources? One of the problems that we have in the United States, in ethnic communities in particular, is that they don't believe in psychology. And so there are people who can be helped with very easy diagnosis, but they will not go to a mental health physician. And they will acknowledge that somebody is crazy, but won't acknowledge that they are treatable. And it's destroying in many cases. Families, communities, we see it take place, and you see mass violence in a school, or you see it in domestic violence between spouses, or you see it in the workplace when people are dealing with just chronic depression. And so it's not necessarily, the very severe schizophrenia that we're talking about. Sometimes it's just clinical depression. And in the United States in particular, there is a direct correlation between ineffective work and clinical depression, and companies that are losing dollars as a result of the number of people that are dealing with undiagnosed or untreated clinical depression. So wellness is holistic, but obviously then we want to deal with the healthcare system itself. What it provides, what it doesn't provide, who has access to it, who does not have access to it, and how can it be fixed. And that dovetailed into just a dialogue, if you will, around doctors' responsibilities, what they should know and not know, as well as patients' understanding of their rights and what they should know. Exactly. The fourth area, this really, what I keep hearing over and over again is, I feel like the people in this room are very interested in redefining what it means to be Greek. I just get a sense that there is unbelievable pride about being Greek, but at the same time there's unbelievable frustration about what it means to be Greek. And so how do you communicate to a new generation what are the responsibilities of being Greek? What do we do to work to create a better Greek society? How will we as proud Greek citizens reform a troubled Greek society? Am I wrong? Should I not have heard that?
It's true. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay. Because I keep hearing that, and when I start thinking about young Greeks wanting to leave Greece because they feel like there's better opportunity somewhere else, young Greeks feeling like there is not a future for them here unless it's under very narrow circumstances, that to me says that there is something wrong with what we believe our ability to make society. I know people in the United States, I know people in other countries that are very frustrated with what their country looks like, with the laws, with how we carry out those laws. Right now in the state of Florida, and Florida is probably one of the states in America that has incredibly difficult legal problems that translate into social problems. Some of it is around poverty policy, some of it is around education policy, and a lot of it is around gun policy. And so there have been a series of murders in Florida that have been very public and have been racially motivated and are around the right to carry weapons and your ability to shoot anybody that you think threatens you. And there have been mass demonstrations over the course of the last month. Right now there is a move to challenge corporations in Florida. And so there is a group called the Squeeze Is On that is challenging Pepsi. Because Pepsi owns Tropicana orange juice, which is the largest employer in the state of Florida. And so people are getting ready to start boycotting Tropicana orange juice and because they're saying that if there's one person that's murdered, it's one thing, but there's series after series of murders, and you are not saying anything about this law. And so how can you be a good corporate citizen of this state and not weigh in on the laws that affect the very people that drink your orange juice? And in the case of Disney, Disney is the other company that they're targeting. Disney targets families, Disney targets young people. If there are laws in this state that are negatively affecting families and young people, how can you be silent about it? So this group isn't calling on them to say, you support removing this law or not removing this law. They're saying you can't stand on the sidelines and not say anything. But my point for bringing that up is that they truly believe they can change their state. And so they're not young people saying, I'm going to leave Florida. Even though they could go to any other state and go to school, they could go to any other state and work. They're not young people saying, I'm going to abandon Florida at the first chance at another opportunity. With people that look like me in the corporate space, in the educational space, and in the activism space to change it. And I'm wondering if there are folks in this room and there are folks around this country that feel the same way. I love being Greek. I understand the history and the pride behind being Greek. But I can't really say that I love everything that's happening in Greece right now. And I have a couple of choices. One, I can, like most people, sit back and act like as long as I'm okay, everything's okay. I can sit back and say, this is just the way it is, it's not going to change, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm not going to talk about it. I can leave and just go find a utopian Canada or United States or somewhere else. Or I can change it. And while it may not be easy to change it, here are the things that I'm willing to do. I have that down as one thing. And last but not least is dealing with immigrants' rights, migrants' rights, and citizenship. And this is something that's happening everywhere in the world. There are very few countries in the world that are not dealing with immigration, that are not dealing with migration rights, and how we as citizens treat migrants, and even the larger discussion of what is citizenship. And so what does it mean to be a citizen of Greece, and what is the process? That probably was one of the largest discussions that we had in Brussels all week, was around what does it mean to be a German, what does it mean to be a Swede, and the fact that you could be second or third generation Swede with African ancestry, and people in Sweden still look at you like you're an outsider, or you can be a follower of the Muslim faith and be a German, and people still look at you as an outsider. How do we reform what it means to be a citizen and the process that it takes to become a citizen? But how do we simultaneously treat those that are immigrating into the country before they become citizens, or if they ever become citizens? So I think that there were some that were more clear than others. And what I'd like to do is not ignore some of the less clear areas, but I'd like to use the very clear areas as places for us to begin to break up into groups. And so I'm going to do 3 of them. The first is education and youth. The second is immigration rights, migrant rights, and citizenship. And the third I'm going to make broad, but it will be about the responsibility of Greek citizenship in a different way. And by that I mean, so you can be clear, those that are interested in creating a movement of creating a better Greece, being committed to the creation of a better Greece. How do we inform Greek citizens about issues that are happening? How do we help build organizations that help mobilize people to change things? And how do we help make Greek citizens feel like I have a responsibility to give back to society in the smallest of ways and the largest of ways? Because what I heard you say, and I really like this, when we talk about how to give back, it should be everything from planting a tree to helping to create policy, from helping immigrants better become part of the society, to helping somebody across the street when we see someone that needs assistance. If we only focus on the large kind of geopolitical challenges, but we don't deal with the community challenges, then we miss something. And I felt like when you said responsibility, you were talking about all the areas that I can give back to my society, to give back to the country. Not in a nationalistic way, but in a community way. I got it that time. Okay. So, we'll hold tight for 1 second, because what I'm going to do is provide some context and then we will divide into the groups. So what I'm looking for you to do in the groups is 3 things. And I'd love for you to write this down so that you'll have it. The first thing that I'd like for you to do in the group is to define a vision. And I would like that vision to be no more than 2 vision points. For instance, if I'm in the education and the youth area, my vision for education and youth is number 1, to create a school system that effectively educates young people of inclusion. And number 2, to create opportunities for young people in public space for recreation. Those are 2 visions in the education youth space. That's the first thing I'd like you to do, is create 2 vision points. What would you like to exist that doesn't currently exist? That makes sense? The second piece, when it comes to, is how would you educate Greek citizens on why this is important, and then how do you communicate to Greek citizens how they can be involved in it? And then the third and final thing is, what are 1 to 3 very practical activities that you can do to begin bringing that vision into reality? So, if we're talking again about youth and education, one of the things that we can do is partner with this college to have a series of discussions on how to reform Greek education. Why? Because it gives you the ability to be able to bring people from all sides of the issue into a place to have an academic, while it may be passionate, but an academic and reasonable conversation about what options are. It gives us the ability to lift up case studies and best practices from in and outside of Greece, and it allows protection, if you will, sometimes of extreme factions, because you're building it under the guise of an academic conversation. That's just an example of something practical that can be done. You all can decide what direction you want that practical piece to come in. And then I lied. There's a 4th thing. And the 4th thing is, who are people that would be part of your network in making this happen? Because most of us know we can't do any of this on our own. And there's power in networks that does not come from being alone. So now I'm open to questions before we begin to divide into groups. So when we divide into groups, I'd like for you to elect 2 people. I'd like you to elect a note taker, and I'd like you to elect a spokesperson. The note taker will obviously take notes. The spokesperson will be the person that reports what you all decide to do to the group. So you all will come up as a group. After you're done, you will present to the group what you'd like to do. And so elect a note taker and a spokesperson. So what I'd like to do is have the education and youth group at this table. I would like to have the migrant and citizenship group, immigration group at this table. And then actually we'll do it by rows, that makes more sense. In the first row we'll do youth and education, in the second row we'll do migrant and citizenship, and in the last row we'll do how to create a better Greece.
So if you were a health person, you would come to how to create a better Greece?
If you were a health person, you
Yeah.
would choose a different one.
You would choose this one here.
Actually, you know what? Let's be fair. Let's do youth and education. Let's do immigration, migration, and then let's do health and wellness.
Yeah, I think health and wellness is.
Because there was a
Yes,
pretty good
let's do health and,
one.
and it's very and it's very specific,
Yeah.
and then there's not as much ambiguity. If there are smaller groups, then I may ask some people to move if we don't have enough people in one. But let's hope that doesn't happen. So again, education and youth in the first, immigration, migration, citizenship in the second, healthcare and wellness in the back row.
And we're looking, so it'll be about 5 people. You know, you're 15, so it'll be approximately five per group, okay?
And we will do this for the next 30 minutes.